So, guess what I did on Thursday and Friday?
What did you do on Thursday and Friday?
I got my ultra nerdy geek on by going to CES for the first time.
Oh, you went to CES?
What?
I did.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, it was beyond nice. David, you know the feeling we get when we go to Comic-Con?
Yeah.
It was like that. It was euphoric.
Especially like when it's your first time.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
so
as much as I've
to
enjoyed Comic-Con like the 2 years after my first time, nothing's quite like that first time.
Yeah. And you and me, we've talked about it off air a lot, how much we are into tech and different things that come out. And so this was definitely the mecca for that. It's just amazing, the things you get to see there. And we weren't there for a super long period of time, just like maybe a day and a half. But everything that I saw was just like off the wall. I felt like the best way to describe CES is like you're living in the future. Outside of that walls that you're in those convention halls, you don't even understand what the outside world is like anymore because you're just living in the future of everything you're seeing there, whether it's these curved TVs and 3D projections of curved TVs and different types of home monitoring systems that you can do through your watch or activating your car through your smartwatch and all these different things. It was just so techy and so great just to be in that atmosphere. And honestly, one of the things that I saw that I loved the most was something simple as a cell phone. And it was LG's new Flex 2 phone that they have coming out. And the way it looks is it's very curved and it's curved facing towards you, right? So the thing about it was if you look at it and if you set it on its face to where the back is showing and there's that curvature, if you press down on it, it will go flat. But then when you release your hand from it, it will go back into that curved form. What? And so it's so crazy. And that even if like there's this, it's made of some sort of polymer on the back where you could use a brush or your keys or basically anything to simulate what would be in your pocket and try and scratch it, but it won't scratch. It's sort of made of this sort of self-healing kind of material to where you won't get any scratches on it. And it was just like, what is this? How is this a thing? You know, how is this made possible? And it has this feature to where, you know how every time seems to be some sort of new fad or phase that comes out, people try and capitalize on it really quickly. Well, the latest thing, I don't know if you saw this when we were at Comic-Con, but there was those selfie sticks that people have now.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, so I guess this phone, the way it works, and you can do it even without the selfie stick, but if you're taking a picture, right, and you're holding it up, and you take the picture, when you bring it down towards you a certain way to view the picture, it will go automatically to the preview of the picture you just took. And so you can just check it out. And then if you raise it back up again, it'll go all the way back into camera mode by itself. So it's like you don't have to do that whole thing because it just kind of knows based on, I guess, the positioning of it that you want to take a picture or you just want to preview the picture. And it was so crazy. And hands down, that was like one of the best things I saw when I was there at CES. But overall, the whole show was just amazing. And you could definitely spend 3-4 days there and just, man, see so many different things.
Yeah.
And it's always that way how, like, even at Comic-Con, when you get down to the narrow rows of the show floor and you see all these little vendors doing little things, you know, it's like that too there. And they still have some really cool stuff, but it was awesome. I just had a really good time doing that and seeing all the good stuff that's going to be coming out this year.
Nice.
Oh, Bobby, you let your geek flag fly this weekend.
It was flying high and fast.
I keep saying like one of these years I'm going to like maybe not do Comic-Con and do something different instead. Like, I mean, I can't imagine how much it must cost to try to go to Sundance. And first of all, just find a place to stay while you're there and then get into all these films. But I mean, that would be amazing.
I would even go to Telluride. I would settle for that too.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool as shit. But yeah, that hasn't happened yet. Right now, as expensive as Comic-Con may seem, it's relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Probably some of the stuff we could do instead. But,
yeah.
oh, well.
It's true. So what have you done geeky lately?
What have I done geeky lately? I've done something geeky lately that's quite different than that. My wife and I spent our Friday night playing Magic. Have you ever?
Magic card game.
That's pretty geeky.
That's pretty geeky,
my friend. That's very geeky.
Not since my middle school years.
So you've played before? Have you played?
When I was much younger, and I barely even remember. But oh my gosh, that's awesome.
I see now. The funny thing is I'm trying to remember why. Even more recently, I've decided to try to learn how to play it, and I don't even know where it came from. It was a few months ago, and I don't know, for some reason I was like, oh man, everyone talks about this, and so many people give it so much shit. That's just almost like the ultimate form of geekiness is playing that game. It seems like.
Pretty much. I think the only way you could get geekier would be if you were playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, that I don't know if I could do that. Who was there's I think it's on Nerdist on their YouTube page. They recently did a Nerdist news episode or something where they were at whatever that company is that makes Dungeons and Dragons. And they were sampling the new book. Because I still don't really fully understand how Dungeons and Dragons works, and it sounds like, man, they were having to totally play the part of these characters, and it was this whole storyline, and I'm like, dude, I cannot do this.
That's the best way to play it. If you really get into the character.
Yeah.
At least Magic, it's it's a card game. It's complicated as shit.
Yeah.
But it's you're playing a card game, and then you're done with your little hand, and it's over. But yeah, Dungeons is a whole nother level. But Magic has been interesting to learn. I've been playing it on the iPad for a while now. And finally last night I was like, all right, I want to play the card version. I actually want to play with someone. And surprisingly, my wife was like, oh yeah, I want to do it. Let's do it. I'm like, all right, cool. and I'm thinking we're going to play one round. We played 4 rounds. She's like, all right, let's do another one. I'm like, okay, let's keep going.
How long does it last?
Not long. I mean, it depends, but it doesn't have to last very long if you wipe the other person out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, and if there's more people kind of involved in it too, it takes a little bit longer sometimes.
And yeah, I haven't even attempted or seen how you would play with more than 2 people. I know you can.
Yeah, you can play with 4 people.
But I've only ever done on the iPad version. It's only ever just
you and the computer.
1-on-1. And now, cards. I've only ever done 1-on-1. I think I played it once, in high school, maybe. It's kind of familiar to me. I remember I had some cards at some point. And maybe I played one game with a friend, and then we were like, okay, moving on.
Well, I haven't played Magic or any of those card games. I am guilty of having played the Marvel version of that kind of thing, where it was all the characters that that are villains and heroes. And I guess it's probably the same sort of premise, and you just have these cards, and each character has these abilities and points of their durability and strength and all that stuff, and you play against other people and what they have in their hand, and they can use their stuff out of their deck and everything like that. But it was a while ago. It's been quite some time, at least over 10 years, so I don't remember all the logistics of it, but I remember having fun doing it at the time. But yeah, it does seem like such a, when you just think of it on the surface of it, it's probably about as geeky as you can get.
Yeah, really. I think it might be.
Well, I mean, I played Magic when I was in kind of. I mean, I played there were some people that were way intense into it. I mean, that was their life in between class periods. But I played it on and off throughout middle school, I think. And Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I won't lie and say I've never played that game.
Nice.
I might have played it a few times here and there throughout high school and college with certain people, but it's fun. It's all kind of, I don't know, you let your imagination kind of go, and it's kind of fun. Actually, if you watch the TV show Community, they had a whole episode on Dungeons and Dragons, and it was amazing.
Yeah, awesome.
It was amazing.
Nice.
Anyways.
Yeah, the comic book store I go to, which I guess most comic book stores, they've got a bunch of tables in the back, and you got people back there playing Magic all the time. And there's always been that early on, when my most recent journey back into reading comic books and going to a store again, and I would always be like, why do they bother with this? If I ever owned a comic book store, I would not have gaming in it. But then now I've started to play Magic, and I'm like, okay, I guess it brings people in.
It
You know,
does.
so
Social
you've
aspect.
got a social aspect that you're automatically going to get people inside to play Magic, and then maybe they'll buy some other stuff too, and plus all the Magic stuff they're going to buy. So, I mean, I guess I get it.
It really is that thing that almost pops into your head, synonymous with a comic book store when you think about it, is seeing those guys in there at the back table playing Magic or whatever card game that they're playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've even been like on YouTube watching people play Magic, just like only because I'm like, I've never played card. You know, you play on the iPad, and sure, that's easy, but you can't play wrong on the iPad. And there's still things about like, well, I get how it works on this digital version, but like, what do I do with these cards like in the real version and everything? So like, there's even one website, I forget the guy's name, and they have like a series called Spell Slingers, and he like, you know, plays kind of very like class F celebrities. Probably the only one I really knew was Felicia Day. He played her on one episode. And because I think she runs the website. I think it's under her, like, it's like almost her version of Nerdist, Geek Sundry, I think it is.
Yeah.
And so I've watched some of those, and I'm just like, man, these people are on a whole nother level. I've got a long ways to go. But yeah. Anyway, I admitted that I play Magic on here. You guys happy?
Yeah. I mean, at least it's something else that we know about David Lott. So that's a good.
We'll see where it goes. We'll see if in a week or two I'm still interested or moved on to something else.
I will get upset with you if like it starts to take over and you tell me you still haven't caught up to Arrow or something like that, or you know, because then it's like, oh, you're spending time on something brand new that's a card game when you could actually be watching something that would be somewhat more relevant to this whole, you know, thing that we've got going on here.
Yeah.
So I'd be like,
it won't get to that point.
Come on. Okay.
Even though I didn't watch much this week, but that's not because of Magic.
Dave.
Come on. It was a busy week. With that said, it is Saturday, January 10th, 2015. Let's get started. Hello and welcome everyone to Flicker Effect, a podcast where each week we chat about the latest happenings in film, TV, and pop culture. This is episode number 118. I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
What's up?
And Michelle Curry.
Hey.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
It's good.
Different on a Saturday, but
It is. We're on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Something
I think the
last
good
minute
thing
came up, and I'm not going to be able to. We couldn't do this tomorrow, so. And you weren't even going to be here, Michelle. So now you were able to be here.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is like we weren't even going to have Michelle if we were going to do it tomorrow as planned. So at least we've got the three of the four of us here together to be able to talk a little movie stuff.
So when you start watching the Golden Globes, Michelle, do you like start really early, like on E, watching like when they're there way before anyone else shows up? How into it are you?
I mean, I don't know if it's unfortunately or sadly or if it's just nerdy, but no, I haven't gotten to do the whole, like, let me start at E in the background of my house throughout the day kind of thing for a long time because I'm usually at work.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
because I'll even admit, the days that, like, I've been off and just hanging out the house all day, like the days it's like, you know, Oscar Sunday or Golden Globe Sunday, I'll even put on like E in the background. And
yeah, I mean, if I'm off, I'll put it on in the background. It's cool.
I almost feel sad to admit that, but I've done it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they have good discussions about things that aren't just clothing related.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's usually on the background if I'm off. But I mean, I feel like the last couple Golden Globes and Oscars, I've been working and going straight to my friend's house, or they're coming over to see me, and we're just going straight into it. But I mean, we do print up ballots. So we, yeah.
I've done that. Usually even just like if my wife and I are watching by ourselves, we'll print out ballots and each make like selections and see who.
Yeah.
Really? I've never done that.
Oh, yeah?
You gotta do
not
ballots,
printing
man.
up ballots. No.
You gotta put it down in ink.
Really?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do ballots, and we'll do... This is how intense we get with it. Not like intense, but we get kind of serious. So we'll do the ballots, and it's like, okay, we'll do it in this color ink to mark it, and then like to correct ourselves, we change ink just to make sure there's no cheating involved.
What?
we're very serious about it.
All right, see, that's a whole nother level, dude.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
But I mean, I have to say, At least for me, like each year, I kind of do it a little differently. Like some years I'll go with like, I'm going to pick what I think is actually going to win, like what I feel will be the choices. And some years I'm like, screw that, I'm picking what I want to win. And then in some years it all kind of works out, and some years it doesn't, and it's kind of halfway. The friend I watch it with, though, she almost always wins. Like very rarely do I have her. I'll be a few off, but yeah, she's always really good at predicting them.
Yeah.
Dang her. She's so good.
We should have made picks on here. We didn't really do that this year. I mean, I guess we still have time. I can look it up right now.
We can do it for the awards. The Oscars.
That's what I was thinking.
We can do it for the Oscars.
Oh, yeah, we'll do it for the Oscars.
That'd be kind of fun.
See, I guess it goes back to the Golden Globes. It's like, there's no predicting. Fuck the Golden Globes.
Exactly.
I was going to say the Golden Globes are harder, I will say.
Yeah, because they make less sense to me.
Yeah.
You know?
There's been times I've been like, wait, what? What? Where'd that come from? Hi, left field. How are you?
Yeah, exactly. Left
Not
field
that,
is the Golden Globes' middle name.
I think the other thing is that, David, you don't watch a lot of the shows, so I would think it'd be a little bit harder for you to pick some of those. As you'd be more just sort of like randomly pulling them out.
Yeah, for the show side, because at least the Oscars is just film, and
exactly.
Shows I watch less TV. So yeah, you're right about that.
Well, for me, even with the shows, because I guess I don't like what the critically acclaimed shows are. I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm like you guys. I watch The Flash,
right,
and Shield, and they're just not going to get to the Golden Globes. I don't think, as much as I do love those shows.
Yeah,
you know,
that's not
but
gonna happen.
You know, I mean, I think the only show that I really watch that's in there is Downton Abbey, and you know, last year was True Detectives, and I watched that. But I mean, I don't really. There's only a few shows that even I've watched it, so it's hard for me even to do the predictions or the guesses whenever I do my ballot.
If you guys had to guess, though, so what? Best motion picture drama. We got Boyhood.
What do we got?
Boyhood, Foxcatcher, The Imitation Game, Selma, and The Theory of Everything. Take a guess, Michelle. What do you think is going to win? Not what you want.
Okay, what I think will probably win. I'm tied up between Selma and what was the second one you said? Not Boyhood.
Foxcatcher.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I think probably Selma.
What about you, Bobby?
I'm gonna go with Boyhood.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with Boyhood too.
Yeah, wait, that has been getting a lot of buzz.
Yeah, there's been a lot of like critics associations that have been picking it as best picture of the year, and that actually reminds me. I kind of wanted to talk about that because, I mean, I put Boyhood in my top 10. What, it was number 9, I think, and I like the film. But God, do I think it's the best picture of the year? No.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, I don't get that. And this fact that I'm seeing it so much, like, in critics associations, this isn't just like Joe Schmo website going, hey, I think it's the best movie of the year. Like, no, these are critics that are saying, yeah, this is the best thing we've ever seen, like, all in 2014. I'm like, I get that it's got its unique quality about it with the way it was made. And I mean, I enjoyed it, but it had the best picture. I don't know. I think that's a little much.
I think so too. I mean, I enjoyed the movie, and obviously the concept of filming for 12 years straight is just totally new, and it was actually really cool to watch that. But I mean, is it best picture worthy? Probably not, but it would be cool. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, Bobby, you think it's like me, you think, Bobby, it's going to get picked, but do you think it's deserving?
I think they're coming from it at the same angle that you just mentioned, is that they're looking at it from that technical standpoint. They're not necessarily thinking everything else that goes involved with making a best picture that marries together the the score of the acting, of the story, the script, all those other aspects that go into making the best picture. I just think they're just looking at it as, this took an incredibly long period of time to make. Getting that all coordinated and done was such an achievement that's going to be the best picture in their eyes. So that's how I see that they're looking at it. And that's, again, the reason why the Golden Globes is different than the Oscars. I think the Oscars will take more into account than what the Golden Globes will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
So best motion picture, comedy, or musical. You got Birdman, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Into the Woods, Pride, and St. Vincent. Michelle, what's your pick?
Probably Birdman.
Bobby?
I'm going Birdman.
Yeah, I think we're all going Birdman.
I mean, not that we're biased or anything.
Yeah. And that reminds me of something else I actually meant to mention last week when we talked about our top 10, because, I mentioned how I squeezed in a bunch of movies the week before, and one of them was Grand Budapest, and I don't even think I mentioned that I watched it. And it definitely didn't make my top 10. And I'm going to say, I don't know. I don't really see what the big deal is about. I know you really enjoyed it, Michelle.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's definitely not my favorite of his films. And I mean, it was enjoyable, but I saw it pop up on a lot of top 10 lists. And so that's why I made a point to watch it. And I don't know. I was underwhelmed by it. I thought it was fun, but I didn't really think it was.
Yeah, I think Wes Anderson's movies have been popping up in top 10s. Really, I think almost every film does in some way, shape, or form for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
For me personally, from his films, I've not felt, I don't know, I haven't enjoyed them as much. This is the one I've enjoyed the most that he's ever done. Having said that, I have not seen Fantastic Mr. Fox or The Moonrise Kingdom. So, having not seen those two, I mean, I could be changing my mind and be like, oh, well, that one was way better. But I really did enjoy Grand Budapest, and I thought the cast was really great, and I thought the script was great. But I mean, yeah, and the other thing is that Wes Anderson's also just not for everybody either. I mean, you like him, I know. I'm just saying in general, the public. So it's almost surprising that, well, it's not surprising that he pops up on these lists all the time because he's very artsy. So of course, like the award shows just gobble that up. But I think for the average American, kind of, it's a little much sometimes. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you haven't watched it yet, right, Bobby?
No, I meant to sit down with it, and I barely started it one day, and then I just didn't have enough time to actually watch it. So no, I'm probably gonna try and see it at some point in time, for sure, before the Oscars come. Especially as a primer to that, to see what the buzz is about, and see if I get the same sort of feel that you got, or if I enjoy it more than you did. But no, not yet.
Yeah, I mean, they're beautiful films, and again, I liked it, and it's a fun watch, but I just didn't think it was like for as much acclaim as it's getting throughout the year. Like I don't know, I'm just surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's on my list, but like I don't think it might be worthy of all the awards things. I will say that.
Yeah,
as much as I enjoyed it, I don't know if it's award. I don't know.
Right, I understand. I mean, I will say, I don't know about you guys, but like you watch enough movies, and I start to like really think, oh man, I wonder how, like, I really wish I could be there to see how they like made this film and set up these shots and got these performances out of these actors. And if there was ever like I could only go and be on set for one director's film, it might be a Wes Anderson film. Like just to watch Grand Budapest and see like, man, how did he get this? What the fuck, man?
It's how did he get this vision onto film? Like, how did he piece this together?
I would love to see like how these scenes are actually directed and made, and how much cool. I don't know. I would say is amazing about his stuff. But
I agree with you. That would be really awesome to see how one of his films are made. That's because they're very intricate.
But you're right. They're definitely not for everybody. But I love his stuff. But again, best picture worthy. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah. What else we got?
What else we got here? Let's see.
What else is going on?
Well, we already did best picture. Yeah, we just did best motion picture, comedy or musical. Best animated feature film, Big Hero 6, The Book of Life, The Box Trolls, How to Train Your Dragon 2, The Lego Movie. I haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon 2, but it seems like everyone loves it.
I really want to watch that one.
I'm guessing that's probably going to get it, though. I don't know. Lego Movie.
I think Lego Movie might take it.
That's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my pick. So, I mean, I've seen it and I loved it. And I think it'll get it.
I liked Big Hero 6 a lot, too, but I don't think it's going to take it, though. I think Lego Movie was just too big this year for...
No, I like Big Hero 6 too, but no. I mean, I would even say Lego Movie is a better movie than Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meant to mention Big Hero 6 in my honorable mentions, but I can't remember if it was Bobby or Yasha that mentioned it.
I know Yasha mentioned it.
I mentioned
you mentioned it too?
Yeah,
okay.
I meant to, because I really did like Big Hero 6 a lot, actually.
Best screenplay, motion picture, Grand Budapest Hotel, Gone Girl, Birdman, Boyhood, and The Imitation Game. Screenplay.
Ooh.
I would actually go with Birdman on that.
Really?
I think so. Though I don't know, the Gone Girl screenplay maybe.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Gone Girl. Oh, that's going to be a rough one.
don't know.
Gone Girl, Birdman. That's a coin tosser.
God, yeah. I have a hard time with that one. I may put my pick down for Imitation Game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, so I can't speak for that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either, so I can't. I don't know. I might say Gone Girl. Just because the author of the book, I think, did the screenplay, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she did.
So, yeah, I'll go Gone Girl. We'll throw that one down.
See how that would be.
We'll throw it down.
I know most people consider it lesser category, but I don't, so I don't care. I'm going to bring it up. Best original score. The Imitation Game, The Theory of Everything, Gone Girl, Birdman, and Interstellar. Antonio Sanchez for Birdman, especially with the drama he has around his lack of Oscar eligibility.
So stupid.
Which is complete bullshit. Yeah, I'm going to go maybe that he might win. The Interstellar score by Hans Zimmer is pretty amazing. And so is the Gone Girl score. These are all really good. Except I haven't heard the one for Imitation Game, but I got to go with Birdman because it's so unique. I got to imagine that wins.
I was going to say, I definitely would say Birdman. And because I think Hans will probably take it in the Academy Awards. I realize the nominations aren't out, but because from what I understand, the Interstellar one is amazing. So I think he'll get nominated for the Academy Awards and he'll probably take it because he's Hans Zimmer, because Hans Zimmer is awesome. But, if Birdman's not going to be eligible for it, I would hope that they would be nice enough to give him a Golden Globe. Good gracious.
It'll be, if he wins the Golden Globe, it'll be interesting to hear his speech. Antonio Sanchez, yeah. Any thoughts on that, Bobby, on score?
I think you're both right. Yeah. It'll be Birdman, but I definitely would give a close call second to Interstellar.
Yeah. That Interstellar score is pretty amazing. I love Hans. A lot of his stuff, some people will argue, can sound very similar. And, sure, his Interstellar score has a Hans kind of sound to it, but it's great.
You can say that about almost any composer that's out there, though. Honestly, John Williams has a very distinct sound, and what's his name? Horner has his own sound too. Like it's
James Horner's got his. Yeah, he takes his own sound to another level. I love James Horner's stuff, but you can listen to a cue in a James Horner score and go, "Wow, that was from Aliens," and I'm hearing it in Star Trek 2. Like it's the exact same cue. Yeah. Like okay.
But see, that's what I'm saying. So, people that are like, oh, Hans does the same stuff. I'll be like, well, it really kind of.
So now we're geeking out on a musical level here. On the TV side, what do we got here? Best television series, comedy or musical, Girls, Jane the Virgin, Orange is the New Black, Silicon Valley, and Transparent.
Bobby, do you want to guess or do you want me to go ahead?
You guys are the TV. You're going to give you the TV categories.
I think I know what's going to happen.
If I had to guess, I would say Orange is the New Black. But I've never watched it, just based on the stuff I hear.
Yeah. What was the category name again?
Best television series, comedy or musical.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll go with Orange is the New Black.
Let's see, I'm different. I'm going Transparent. I bet you that's what's going to get it.
Have you watched Transparent?
I've watched none of those, actually.
You've just heard a lot about it on Amazon?
Yeah, apparently Transparent is just amazing, from what I understand. And from what I heard, and I think was even discussed a little while ago, was that with Orange is the New Black, Season 1, amazing. Season 2, wah, wah, wah. So
I will say this, and I haven't seen all of Season 2 yet. I've seen maybe 3 episodes, but the Golden Globes has a tendency to re-up the next year for a show just because of whatever reason, because Modern Family won so many years in a row, even when it wasn't as good as it was the previous year. So I could easily see them going Orange is the New Black, even if the season wasn't as good, just based on the popularity of the show in general, as opposed to Transparent.
I could see that because the popularity is really big with that one. But what I've also heard is that Jeffrey Tambor is just amazing in Transparent. So,
all right. Best television series drama: The Affair, Downton Abbey, Game of Thrones, The Good Wife, and House of Cards.
There's what I want, and there's what I think will probably take it.
What do you think?
That's so hard. What I think is probably going to take it. I'm trying to remember if Good Wife took it last year or not.
I think it did, and that's what I was going to.
I was going to say, I'm thinking it's Good Wife.
Yeah.
Which, from.
I'm totally guessing if I pick House of Cards, which is what I was going to pick. I've seen episodes of The Good Wife, and that's a great show. But
yeah, it's not a bad. I'm just saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's kind of like. I think people will love it, or they're kind of like about it, and I'm kind of like.
I mean, again, I don't watch it on a regular basis. I'm just saying I've seen episodes.
I've tried.
So yeah, I'm guessing there because again, I don't watch a lot of TV. So
that's okay.
Well, anything else? Yeah.
Meh.
Best miniseries or motion picture made for television? Fargo. That's interesting. Fargo's in there. I guess I get that.
Yeah.
Fargo, The Missing, The Normal Heart, Olive Kitteridge, or True Detective.
Oh,
that's got to be True Detective.
I was going to say.
Yeah, Fargo's pretty amazing, but that's got to be True Detective.
Yeah, as soon as you said True Detective,
I don't
know. Done.
If they have the Amazing Heart looped in there too, though, I could see that happening. Just as a sneak attack on True Detective.
Oh, this list even. I'm scrolling through this list. The list even shows like the most nominations by motion picture distributor.
Wow.
Fox Searchlight has the most.
Really?
Television Network HBO has the most.
I could see that.
All right. Anyway,
did the BAFTAs come out though? The BAFTA nominations? I feel like I heard that this week.
Did it?
Did they?
I don't have those in front of me.
I believe so. I think there was controversy.
Well, yeah.
As such things seem to go.
The BAFTAs always do it, man.
I guess Selma didn't get nominated, and
I did hear about that. That's right.
Yeah, there was some other stuff. I think Imitation Game didn't get nominated for something or other, or maybe it was Benedict. I don't know, but yeah, I believe they did come out though.
Yeah, they did come out. I'm trying to look them up here. Best film: Birdman, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, The Theory of Everything. Outstanding British film. I don't know any of them. Well, actually, I do.
What, Doctor Who?
British film.
Oh, I thought you said British show.
No. Doctor Who. Downton Abbey, Doctor Who.
That was the best.
That's all we know here in the States.
I know a few more, but I don't know how many more.
Oh, yeah, they just have the main 4 categories here.
Okay.
Best film, outstanding British film, best actor, best actress. Anyway, yeah, I don't have all those in front of me. Well, anyway, what have you guys been watching this week? Anything interesting? I haven't watched much. Bobby, you watched anything this week?
Well, that's almost like asking.
Well, Agent Carter, that's right. I did see the first episode of that.
Agent Carter.
Ah, there you go. Okay, so
I got that.
Hey. One of the two.
One of the two. They showed 2 back to back. I watched the first one. I haven't watched the second one yet. It was interesting. I liked it. I'll keep watching. I'm still trying to catch up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but yeah, I'll try to keep up with this one. And this is only planned for how many episodes? It's not very many, right?
I think it's like 5 more, 7 more.
I thought it was like
there's supposed to be 8 episodes, and they showed 2, so I guess there's 6 more to go.
Okay.
I like it. I think it's fun. It reminds me a lot of radio serials from the 30s and 40s, even though at one point they actually make fun of those. But I think it's just fun. It's lighthearted. I like that it doesn't really loop in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too much. I mean, thus far in the 2 episodes we've seen. I don't know. It's fun. I like it.
Bobby, you a fan?
Yeah, I am. So you didn't get to see the second episode, but there's someone that is also a big comic book fan that was in the that second episode throughout parts of it, which was Ralph Garman. So
really?
Be on the lookout for him in that.
Nice.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the show. There was a lot of aspects of it that I didn't know going into it that I would enjoy or how I would feel about him in general, but everything played together pretty well, and I became a really new fan of Haley Atwell just watching her in this show is because they write her really well. She's very smart, she's witty, but she still has a level of vulnerability that comes across when she's doing certain things because she puts on this tough exterior for the world to see because of this way she has to live in this time period when men are just pretty much the dominant force, and she's supposed to just sort of sit back and take it, and she puts on this air that she just doesn't sort of care. But she does, but she just doesn't really let it show. And there's a lot of aspects of her that I feel like we'll get to uncover and peel back more layers of her character. And just in the 2 hours that we got, I really enjoyed a lot of the ingenuity of the fight scenes, the way she would use certain things in her environment to help her fight guys that are bigger and stronger than her. So, just everything about the show I liked. And the showrunners are the same people that did the show. Did you guys ever watch the show that was with Ray Wise and Michelle Forensica, and I can't think of the other guy's name, but he was the main guy, and it was like there was the devil. Ray Wise played the devil, and it came on CW a few years back. I'm blanking on the...
Sounds familiar, but I don't...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, they ran that show, and it was always, I thought, really smart and witty and just well done, and it seems to have carried over here. And there was an interesting article I read on Hollywood Reporter that had the guy who does Arrow, Guggenheim, I think his last name is. He was interviewing his wife, who's one of the people that is the showrunner for for Agent Carter. And it was interesting seeing how two different showrunners run their shows and the way that they are sort of going about it. And when you hear from the Arrow showrunner, he mentions how DC is pretty hands-off in terms of how he gets to run the show and being able to do certain things. While they're involved to a certain level, they, for the most part, just sort of leave it in his hands and let him sort of run with it. Whereas on their side, on Marvel's side, they're more involved.
Yeah.
And they're more figuring out ways in which it needs to sort of tie into things and the ways that they can just sort of let it be free because of the fact that Agent Carter, she doesn't have a lot of comic book history in the sense of having her own comic and having years and years and years of this built-up character that people have known about her past history. She doesn't really have that. So they are able to play a little bit more in that arena. But as far as the overall scope and the way things sort of tie in, that's where Marvel kind of massages it a little bit more.
Right.
But, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to something you said earlier, and I fully agree. What I really liked, one is the actress. Yeah, she's awesome. I'm really starting to really like her a lot, and I really like the way they're writing this character, and I really love how, and this is my feminist, here comes, feminist card coming out. Whoop. So what I love is how they are showcasing the hardships that women were going through at this time right after World War II, with the men coming back. Well, with the men gone during World War II fighting the war, women really stepped up and they filled in a lot of men's shoes. And women who were looked upon really kind of as just housewives and seamstresses and secretaries, they were doing, crazy jobs that men initially would never have envisioned a woman doing. Then the guys came back from the war and they basically booted the chicks out. And now they're like, I'm back to being a secretary. I just helped build a tank, dude. Like, I can do more than just answer the phones.
Right.
And they touch on that in the show, and I really was watching. I was like, oh, this is really, I'm glad they're bringing this out because, yeah, women really had to struggle to show I'm worthy of more than what you think I'm doing. And so she kind of talks about it, and her roommate and the other girl she is going to be her next door neighbor is going to talk about it. I was like, man, that's awesome. I'm glad they're really kind of putting this on TV because it's something that doesn't get talked about very often. And I don't know. I was excited about it because I'm a chick, I guess. But hey, it's little things. But yeah, I really like it. Yeah, like you said, I think it's because I think they're writing her character as such an intelligent woman, which is why she's able to get into a fight. And even though, yeah, she's completely outweighed and I guess, in a way she's kind of, she's unarmed as much as the guys are, but she's smart. And so she looks around, she sees what she can use in her environment, and she uses that to her advantage to kick some butt. She's awesome.
She does.
I like her. I'm down with this show. I think it's fun.
Cool.
Yeah. So I did a little IMDb while we were involved in the conversation, and the show that I was thinking of is Reaper. And
yeah,
the showrunners are Tara Butters and Michelle Fazekas. And Michelle, or Tara Butters, is the one that's married to Mark Guggenheim that runs Arrow. So, yeah, there we go.
Gotcha. All right. Well, what else have you been watching, Bobby, this week?
Okay, had the TV on last week, and I think it was Sunday that it aired. Can't remember specifically what day, but I didn't have anything on yet because not every show had come back, and there were still more things that I had on the DVR that I wasn't sort of ready to sit down and just sort of watch just yet. And that new show on ABC, Gallivant, was on.
Yeah,
so
it's like
I
a
was
mini-series, right?
Yeah, it's a little mini-series. So I think maybe the first 5 minutes had already started before I turned it on. And it was interesting, to say the least, because I had no interest in watching this show at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, because of the fact that I didn't really know what to expect from it. And I found myself into the story and into the whole musical aspect of the show, which, yeah, on the surface of it, I just didn't think I would even bother to give it 2 minutes of my time. But it's this story of the Prince Gallivant, and he's trying to get revenge against, I think it's King Richard, because he steals this girl that he loves. But the girl that he loves isn't even really into him, and she's kind of like, well, for lack of a better term, she's kind of a slut. I mean, and so it's like he's trying to get back to this girl that isn't even really worth his time. But it's this thing where he is not even involved for a while, because after she gives him the boot, he kind of gets lazy and fat and doesn't even really feel like being this Prince Gallivant that he was known for, and all these stories told about him, until this girl comes and needs his help. And then eventually he sort of finds that he needs to do this because, well, he's out of money and he needs money, and she has this big green diamond that she wants to give him in exchange for his help. And so there begins his quest, and it was kind of fun in a way that I wasn't expecting. So I was like, okay, I'll tune into the next episode to see what happens, because initially I didn't think anything of it at all.
Yeah, I saw like an ad for it this week, and I couldn't remember if it had already aired an episode or not. Part of me was like, is it starting this coming weekend? But yeah, okay. And now I guess it's had an episode already.
Yeah, it came in on Sunday,
right.
So we were doing the podcast.
Yeah.
And it's on Hulu right now.
How is it?
Like all week I was kind of like, oh, do I want to start this up? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I believe it was the first
fun.
2 episodes.
Oh, was it? Yeah. It looks fun.
Really? Oh, okay.
It looks like a fun little show.
It was. It definitely has those influences of Monty Python and everything. So you get that vibe when you're watching it. But I think they pulled it off pretty well. That it was just funny enough. Like, not funny to where I felt like I was laughing out loud and just really busting a gut. But it made me smile, and I could get what they were going for enough to where I was like, okay, it's not deafening to my ears that they're singing, and I can understand and hear the cleverness of it all. So I was like, okay, I'll check it out and see how it goes. And it's only again, a mini series, and so it's not going to be that long. So I was like, why not? I might as well. I mean, it's not like it's a whole season's worth of shows and 22 episodes and having to try to commit to that week after week. So I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and ride this thing out and see how it goes.
Nice. Now, you also saw some movies this week.
Well, I also saw another
movies out
TV
this
show.
You what?
I also saw another TV show.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay. What'd you see?
I watched Empire. Came on Fox this week. It's with
okay.
Taraji P. Henson and Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
And this one it's cool. It's like this hip hop family, and in the show, Terrence Howard's character, he's feeling at this point in his life that he needs to groom an heir to this empire that he's created, this hip hop industry, like record company label. And he has these 3 sons, and each of them have their strengths, but they all have their weaknesses. And so he's trying to groom one to be his replacement. And meanwhile, Taraji P. Henson plays his ex-wife that was in prison because she used the money that she got from selling drugs to help start the company. And she got caught and put in jail for, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so. And so now that she's out of jail, she wants half of the company because she helped start it. And so it becomes this whole family drama where the sons are kind of being pitted against each other to be able to see who's going to rise to the top. One of the guys, I guess if you break all three down of the sons, the oldest son, he has the business sense to take over the company, but he's not an artist. He's not famous in any sort of way. Whereas the character Terrence Howard plays, he started as a rapper and then made his name and then created this whole record company and made millions off of it from that way. So he wants someone in that sort of same vein that is popular with the face of being the face of the company, where people know who he is and they can chart his rise to the top sort of thing. And his oldest son doesn't have that. His second oldest son, he's a really gifted and talented R&B singer, but there's the one glaring problem that the dad doesn't like at all, which is that he's gay. So he feels like you can't have the mogul of your hip hop company be gay because that fan base wouldn't like that as their figurehead. And so it becomes this thing where he almost dismisses him out of hand. And you see in flashbacks that the behaviorism of being gay started early on, and his father took a strong disliking to that, to say the least. There's some stuff in there that happens when he's young that's pretty hard to watch. And then, it's pretty crazy. And then the youngest son, he's into hip hop, but his mind isn't focused on running a business. It's just focused on the things that a typical hip hop kid would be into, which is cars, women, drugs, those kind of things. So it's like he's not ready for it at all, but it's almost the one he would want to be because it's a mirror image of himself, because that was him when he was younger. So it's all very, very interesting, and I'm definitely in for that one. It was really good. So
nice.
That was probably my favorite of the ones I watched from this week. It was Empire.
Cool.
I'd seen the ads for that one. I was kind of like, that could be interesting because Terrence Howard is kind of choosy as to what he does. So I was like, that could be pretty good.
Well, Taraji is definitely the front runner in the show in terms of performances wise. She's scary. Like, you would not want to be in a room with this character that she plays, because she's pretty in your face, to say the least.
Cool. Well, what else have you been watching?
I watched movies. So I got the first movie that I saw was Taken 3. And obviously by this point, everyone's familiar with what the whole Taken series is about, even if you haven't seen it, like some people.
Who would never see these movies?
Exactly.
Crazy
That's what
people.
I'd like to know. Man, you'd have to be living under a rock to not have seen these.
It's a very nice rock I have. I like my rock.
So, okay, well, the character Liam Neeson plays, Brian Mills, is back third time around. In this one, he's more of a fugitive because his wife is killed and he's set up to be the fall guy for it. And you get the typical things that you get in all the Taken movies. The action beats and the character beats are all the same, nothing new. It wasn't great, to be honest. It was a little underwhelming, and I just felt as though it added nothing new to the series. It didn't reinvigorate it in any sort of way. It didn't make it better to maybe lead on to more sequels. I feel like if this is the last one, it's good. It's a good thing for it. It's a good one to just stop on, because it wasn't anything great. It wasn't horrible, but it just wasn't anything to go rush out and see. And to feel like you want to complete the series. I mean, you could definitely wait for it to come out on Blu-ray, DVD, and all that good stuff, because it just didn't do anything to really make it stand out from the other three, from the other two. I would say it's better than the last one, but not a whole lot better. And honestly, the best parts of the movie are when he's with his daughter and their relationship. That's probably the through line from the first one to the third one is the strongest part of all those movies are his interactions with his daughter and those scenes that they share together.
No, I'll agree just because I've seen the first two. So yeah, I mean that's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, disappointing. Definitely wasn't anything to write home about, and
you're not giving me a lot of good reasons to go watch this franchise.
Well, to be honest,
the first one's
I would
really
say
good.
yeah, exactly.
I
wouldn't even say you'd have to watch the other two. I mean, you just need to watch the first one.
Watch the first one.
That one was really good.
Yeah, like I'll probably be Netflixing the third one.
Yeah.
But the first one, it's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so
I'll
funny
see
too
it.
because there's let me see if I can look it up really quick. But there was a movie that he had as a trailer, Liam Neeson, that's coming out in I think it was either March or April, and I swear to you, it almost seemed like it was Taken, but with a son instead of a daughter.
Oh,
and I was like, wow, you would think at this point,
Is that Run All Night?
Yeah, Run All Night.
Yeah.
And you would think at this point he'd be like, okay, I got to move as far away from those types of films.
Like, I'm a better actor than this.
I
can
wish
do
that
better
he
things.
would. I wish he would. I mean, I really liked Taken, but like the gray was kind of and nonstop, and I didn't see Walk in the Tombstones, but
that I liked those movies you just said, but there was nothing about them that I felt like it had to be Liam Neeson playing those roles, you know? It did nothing for him being in terms of being in those films where it elevated the films to a different level. I think they could have put anybody in those roles and it would have still been fine. But I thought that because they're also similar in the fact that he's still sort of a badass in those roles, is that what makes them sort of almost blend together and be hard to distinguish from one another, because they just have that same sort of character to where he's kind of going to come out on top in the end. And obviously that doesn't always happen in a certain sort of way, but you just get that sense, and it's like he's not taking any real risk in some of these films anymore.
no, yeah, I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like they all kind of blend together after a little while, and while I love Liam Neeson, I love watching him kick ass because he's good at it. But yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping that he could start going into some other roles. I mean, and I kind of like him as a bad guy too. You know, like Liam Neeson as a bad guy is awesome, and basically as a good guy too. And he could just do different things and a little more in depth drama kind of stuff. And I think he's been in this little phase for a little too long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What else?
The big one that I saw for the weekend was Selma.
Yeah. How was it?
So we got David Oyelowo in it, and this was the story of Dr. King, his effort to move the voting rights into an area to where it wasn't only just legal to do, but possible to do, because what you see happening during this time period was that blacks had the legal right to vote, but when they would show up to register, they were given these impossible tasks to try and complete in order for them to be able to get the sign off to be able to vote. So, for instance, if someone white was to register to vote, they just have to fill out the paperwork, make sure that's correct, and then they're good to go. But if someone black filled out the paperwork, after they fill out the paperwork, assuming that it's correct and doesn't get denied right there for misspelling something or doing something wrong, then they would get asked questions like, how many like senators are there in the United States? Or how many county judges are there? And then if you know how many there are, then you'd be asked to name all 69 of these county judges. And it's like, well, who knows their names? Most of the white people that are going to register don't know those names.
Yeah.
So there was like inequality in the way that, even though they were legally allowed to, still being kept out of the polls. And so Dr. King had put this march together that was going to start in Selma and go to Montgomery, Alabama. And it's that story. And you get to see how difficult it was of a thing to really actually do. There's so much that went into the planning of it and so many obstacles against it in terms of the people even within the organization disagreeing upon the ways in which they should march or if they should march. And there is also opposition from the president, and there's opposition from any other number of people that had their hands involved, like the governor of the state of Alabama. So, and down to the local police. And it was just a daunting effort to try and put together this march. And you see, what I liked about it was that you really see how hard it was on Dr. King, because a lot of times when you're in school and you have your Black History Month, you just sort of see it on the page and you get just that glossary look at it where you don't get to experience it in a real sort of way. And in the film, you kind of just see it in his face, how heavy it is, how much of a weight it is on his shoulders, and that he isn't a perfect man, because he has these doubts and he has moments of weakness where he just is that complete human being, and he's not this deity that you would think, because that's all you sort of get. And what makes it work so well is seeing the power of the film, in that you see it and it becomes more visceral, to where you see the struggle and you see when they're just, all they want to do is be able to vote. And being able to do that means the world to them, to where they're willing to risk their lives and get beaten and pushed aside and cast aside just to have that basic right. And it's such a powerful thing, and you forget it. And it's especially hard to really get the whole sense and scope of it when you're just reading about it in a textbook. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about having film and about having movies about these people. And within the last year that we've had the certain movies like Imitation Game and the Selma and the Theory of Everything, and all these films where you get to learn about these people, Unbroken, that you maybe have heard about in history, but you're seeing a part of their life. And some of it is sure to be highly dramatized for a film in order for it to be entertaining for a certain segment of the people that are watching it. But you still get that sense of who they are. And it's so weird in a way that when you think about how in the day and age that we're living in, and we watch so many superhero comic books and movies become these real things to us, that now these movies that have come out lately remind you that we have actual real heroes in life that have done things that other humans weren't capable of doing at the time, and that they stood themselves out from the pack by taking chances and risks that everyone else wasn't willing to do. And even throughout that, you always do see that it's not always just that one person. There's people who help prop them up and keep them as a support system to have faith in what they're doing and that they're doing the right thing. And it's an important message, and I think it's just one that really helped resonate with the film. And like I said, David Oyelowo was so good in the role that it's just awesome. And the movie was really well done, really well shot, well written. I'll say the one thing that is sort of a slight criticism against the film is that with all the reports that have come out lately about whether the portrayal of Johnson, the President Johnson, was correct or not, it does play into when you're watching it. You're like, well, was he really that against it, or was he that mean or that bad about it? And because the film sort of sets him up as a somewhat of an antagonist. And so if history is correct in the sense that the people who are pro Johnson are saying that, no, he wasn't this opposed to it, or he didn't say these things, then it paints him as sort of a bad guy in the film. And it'd be unfortunate if, like, they're just sort of doing that just to make the film have some sort of antagonist to a certain degree. So I would say that would be the one sort of drawback, that they could have maybe pulled back a little bit from that being a little bit of a focus and just concentrated on the march itself.
Would you say if you had seen this before last week, it might have made your top 10? Or
yeah, it would have.
Yeah.
It probably would have.
Yeah.
It probably would have made it right in the 10 or 9 spot somewhere.
Gotcha.
So,
Do you feel that it's worth all the award show hype that it's getting and praise?
yeah, it's
okay.
good. It's like that level when you see it, it just covers it in such a way where it almost makes it hard to watch, in the same way 12 Years a Slave is that it's such an unflinching kind of look at certain aspects, the brutality level of things that went on, just the opposition, the uphill battle of it all, and the acting across the board is just great anyway. So, yeah, I could see why it's getting a lot of the buzz now.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, I wanted to see that this weekend, or Inherent Vice, but neither happened. But I'm definitely going to make a point to see Selma before it leaves theaters. For me, I didn't watch anything new this week other than Agent Carter. Last week when we were doing our top 10 show, during our honorable mentions, I kind of quickly mentioned that I had watched Only Lovers Left Alive and Under the Skin. I didn't really have any more I wanted to say about Only Lovers Left Alive. There's not much more to say about it, though I did enjoy the film. The film was directed by Jim Jarmusch, who previously directed Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai, and Broken Flowers. A lot of people may remember or recognize the one with Bill Murray. Mm-hmm. Again, I think kind of like what I said last week, it was an interesting take on, vampires, a much more classic take on vampires compared to some of the bullshit we've seen lately. But Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston were a pleasure to watch in it. So I highly recommend it. But yeah, not much more to say about that, though. But with Under the Skin, the film with Scarlett Johansson, it was weird, but I really enjoyed it. Especially interesting about it was the way they made it. A lot of these men in the film, there's a lot of scenes of her just driving around in a truck and essentially picking up men, of just driving up to a guy walking down the street and her trying to, hey, do you know how to get to this place? Hey, where are you headed? You need a ride. And that's how she would kind of lure men in. And a lot of that stuff was filmed with hidden cameras with just real people. And it's especially interesting, like, once you see what ends up playing out, that they were able to convince most of these guys to partake. Because most of these men ended up being like full frontal nude. And, hey, maybe it wasn't too hard to go, hey, you're going to get to have a nude scene with Scarlett Johansson. Want to do this? Sure, I could do that.
I got an afternoon that's free.
Yeah, why not? I thought it worked really well. I'd be, of course, curious to see like footage of all the stuff they didn't use, of people they pulled up to, and what guys would say to her or whatever. Or probably a lot of, hey, I know who you are, kind of stuff.
Holy crap! You're Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, but yeah, the director mentions at some point that, sure, like they start off the conversation not knowing what's going on, but once the guys see the cameras and kind of figure out, they did talk to him, especially about some of the extremes they were going to have to go into if they decided to continue to be in the film. So I'm sure past the point that they had been picked up and put in the vehicle, at that point they probably knew what was going on. But the film's really interesting. It's really, really odd. It's, not a ton of dialogue in it. Definitely not for everybody, but I really enjoyed it. I was a little bummed it didn't make my top 10. It was close.
Yeah, I heard that was really dark.
It's dark, yeah.
Let's say you didn't have seen or heard about the footage and the stuff that went on behind the scenes, and you just watched it going in cold and just saw it for what it was. Would you have still thought it was as good as it was? Or
yeah, because honestly,
knowing all that stuff
I didn't know a lot of that before I watched it.
Okay.
I, tend to try to look up info about a film after I watch it, especially when I'm going to talk about it on here. So that's how I found out that, oh, wow, a lot of that stuff was the real deal. Okay. So, yeah, I didn't know that. So, yeah, I would have still enjoyed it.
That's like the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah. Try to go. I mean, hey, I've said before, I'll watch trailers left and right. I'm not the kind of person that won't watch stuff just so I don't know anything. The going into a movie completely cold is an interesting experience. I get to do that so rarely.
Yeah.
But I try not to read too much about like behind the scenes kind of aspects of a film, I guess, like this maybe before. Other than, we talk, of course, we're talking about news all the time on here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention that again real quick. I know I talked about it briefly last week. So we all watched Agent Carter. And of course, one of the big aspects of seeing Agent Carter was that they were premiering the Ant-Man trailer. Which early in the week, they showed this tease of like an ant-sized trailer. It's this tiny little thing. And then finally Marvel put out like a full-size version of that, which just showed like a couple shots. But yeah, we've got an Ant-Man teaser now. Just under 2 minutes, I think it is. What do you guys think of this? Michelle, I want to ask you first. What do you think of the Ant-Man teaser?
I didn't really quite know what to think of it at first because it didn't draw me in quite the way that I think a teaser probably should have, truth be told. I don't know. I think they were trying really hard to make it look serious, but I know it's not going to be that serious because the comic's kind of funny. And, then he was kind of making jokes there towards the end of I don't know. I was kind of mixed on this one. I'm excited for it because it's a Marvel movie. So it's like, yay, another one, who isn't? But it didn't add anything to my excitement. I will say that much as far as the teaser trailer goes. For something that's supposed to tease me, make me go, oh my gosh, did you see that? That's hilarious. Or, oh my gosh, that looked awesome. I was kind of like, So.
Yeah. What'd you think, Bobby?
For me, I will say it didn't add any more excitement level to what I'm already waiting to see it. I definitely want to see it, but for me, I guess it was not like that for me because it's Ant-Man and I know the character, but I don't know him in depth as the same way I know some of the other characters. But for me, I don't care other than actually showing the best parts of the film. I don't know what they could have shown me. Even if it was the full-length trailer, that would have made me super excited for it because it's Ant-Man, and I know his power base. And I don't mean that as a slam against Ant-Man or the character at all, because he's actually a good character. It's just that his power base is that he shrinks, and so that's where all the effects will come in and to see some of those aspects. But it's not like he has the same sort of cool powers that someone like, I don't know, a Superman or even someone like the Flash or some of those level of characters would have. So there's not anything I think they could have really particularly shown me that would have made me super excited for it. What excites me about it is the story itself and what I'm getting there. And that's why I liked it, is because I know the setup is different than anything the comics have ever done, because in the comics, it's Hank Pym, and he's the one that is Ant-Man. And then later on, Scott Lang's character comes about. But in this, it's so different. It's so different. And so I'm intrigued and interested by that concept and what they're doing there. And that Hank Pym gets Scott Lang and enlists him to be able to try and get this suit for him. And so, well, that's not really played in the trailer per se, but knowing some of the things that I've read and knowing that it's sort of to be a heist film, that's what makes me really want to see it. And seeing some of the elements of the Ant-Man and how he shrinks down, that looks good. And I'm glad that they are doing that well. And seeing some of the other aspects, I know in the second trailer will help flesh out the story even more and maybe put one or two really cool shots of him using his powers in a sort of cool sort of way that I think will come along as well in the second trailer. But as far as the teaser, I think it did the job enough for me to say it informed me to a certain degree of what the story is, and that it made me interested to see more. So on that level, it worked for me.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'll say first, when it comes to Ant-Man, I'm still interested in seeing the film, of course. It's a Marvel movie. Yeah. Do I think it's probably going to be good? And Marvel's made very few, if any, missteps at this point. It's probably going to be a good flick. Now, this one, more than anything, may be an interesting one to see from that aspect because, you know, of the drama that's been behind the making of it with Edgar Wright leaving, and it's so recently going into production and pretty quickly getting made. But so, I mean, yeah, maybe there's a part of me that's like, ooh, could this be the first, like, kind of Marvel movie? Though, I mean, I'm not to say we haven't already had Marvel movies, but you know what I mean. With that said, I'm still interested in Ant-Man, and nothing's changed after watching this trailer. I think it should be a good film. As a teaser trailer goes, I didn't think it was a very good teaser. I found myself, after I watched it, it just kind of fell flat for me. To me, I get what you're saying, Bobby, in that it's, you know, what could you do to kind of showcase as a teaser? Just to me, like, a teaser shouldn't necessarily have to explain a lot. You know, it should just kind of tease and give me something where I'm like, oh, wow, that should be interesting. Now, maybe in the case of Ant-Man, what could you really tease to be like, oh, wow, he shrinks? You know, like, I get that. But at the same time, the least you could do, I guess, in this case, especially a movie that apparently, from what we're hearing, is going to have a lot of humor in it. I mean, you've cast Paul Rudd in the lead. You could at least make it seem like it's going to be fun. And the teaser is very serious. The tone of the music is very serious. I mean, I feel like I'm about to see a Christopher Nolan Ant-Man film. And the perfect moment in this trailer where you've got that first bit of humor when Michael Douglas's Hank Pym's character, you know, says to him, I need you to be the Ant-Man. And he just responds with, oh. And right there, you've got shots of a guy riding an ant. You know, I mean, that's what this is about. And it's still doing the whole serious thing. And I'm just like, no. You could have lightened it up a little bit, I think. And at least, even though maybe there's not stuff you could have shown that would have been like, oh, wow, this is going to be awesome. This dude shrinks. You could have at least made it seem like it's going to be a fun Marvel movie. And for whatever reason, with the teaser, it seems like they've gone another direction. Maybe because they wanted to not do the fun thing right after Guardians. Maybe I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why you would do this. I don't agree with whatever their decision was, but for me, the teaser didn't work as a teaser.
It's so.
I wasn't a fan.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I want to see it. I will definitely be seeing this movie.
Same
I mean,
here,
it's a Marvel movie. Like, I will be sitting there, and I was excited, and I'm still excited to see this movie. But I think Dave and I are on the same wavelength. Like, it just was playing really serious. Like, I was like, wow, I was very like, this is the Ant-Man like, I sat there for a second going, this is the Ant-Man teaser? And I mean, and then finally Paul Rudd gave like one or two kind of funny lines, and I was like, okay, that sounds more like what we're looking at. But they have Michael Douglas doing the dub over, and it's just very deep, and the music was kind of dark. Yeah, I'm with Dave. Like, it wasn't the best teaser trailer. I don't think it was made well.
What were you about to say, Bobby?
Yeah, it's just it's so weird that I never got that vibe at all. Like, to me, it played like a typical Marvel trailer in that it looks serious, but there's humor in it. I mean, you get that even with the Ultron original with the No Strings on Me, and it sounds so serious and dire. But then you see when they show the aspects of them hanging out together and having fun, it's like that. It's like, ever since, I think, I would say with the exception of maybe the Incredible Hulk, and maybe with the start of, I don't know, maybe Iron Man 2, it seems like all their films have an element of high stakes and action and seriousness to it, but comedy mixed in within the whole, realm of all their films. And to me, this is no different. I mean, you don't get Paul Rudd to do a film. So him being in it, to me, implies that there's going to be a level of comedy. And the two things that he does in it, just to me, sort of showcase the fact that, this is still going to be the same sort of Marvel mix that we get, where it's going to be sort of serious, but there's going to be funny parts mixed in. But that's what I got from it. And I don't know, like, how everyone else might have perceived it out there, that it seems like it's going to be serious, but I don't think they've done a serious film to date that's serious from start to finish. So I don't think they're going to start with Ant-Man.
I don't know. I guess I haven't like made a point to look out online to find like general reactions, and I haven't really talked to anybody other than you guys about it. So I guess that's the part that I'm curious about, because to me, I see this and I feel like Joe Schmo general audience member who maybe wouldn't necessarily go see every Marvel film would see this and be like, meh, that's not a comic book film I need to see. That's what I would think. Now, of course, this is just a teaser. We've got another trailer. Probably the next trailer will do a better job of getting in Joe Schmo general audience member. But I just feel like this teaser isn't really the kind of teaser that's going to grab someone and be like, oh, wow, this could be a lot of fun or a good film. I don't know. That's just how I think about it.
And going on, piggybacking on what you said, to me, I feel like that even if it's just Joe Schmo, the fact that Marvel's name is attached to it will be the thing that will bring them into it, regardless of whether this teaser did it or not. Because I remember even after the Guardians of the Galaxy teaser, people were like, what is this? I don't get it. And yet, still at the #1 box office of last year. So,
but I still feel like the first reaction. I still feel like the first reaction to that first Guardians teaser was better than this.
Better for sure, but that there was still those people that I think still had that same sort of reaction that you're having now to Ant-Man, that had that to Guardians, and they had to still go see it just because it was Marvel, and they've seen the other ones, and they know sort of the way it works now, that they like to tie these things together. So that in and of itself, I think just that Marvel name is bigger than the name that's underneath it. And so I think that whether this teaser did its job in terms of making people excited is almost secondary to the fact that the Marvel name will still bring them into the seats.
And I agree on that. I mean, in the end, does this teaser matter? Not really.
No.
I mean, it's a Marvel film. It's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you. I guess I still feel like as a teaser, if I'm still going to, looking at this as a teaser, I feel like it fails and could have been much better. I mean, I shared with you guys a link to, pretty quickly this week, somebody, of course you get fans that do edits and a bunch of crap and they throw it up on YouTube, and someone did a fan edit of this trailer, which I feel like nailed it. Like they, pretty much the moment after he says the O, and then you've kind of got that montage of him being Ant-Man and shrinking and riding an ant. Instead of that serious tone, they threw over the song Hold Tight, which most people will best know if they ever saw the movie Death Proof. It's from by Davey D, Dozy, Beaky, Mitch, and Titch.
Nice.
And it's perfect. I'm like, wow, this is fun. And the only other thing they changed, they cut some of the shots out of it, and they added different titles that kind of went with the feel of the song. And I mean, I was like, wow, that worked. Like, I feel like that's all you had to do is do something that was a little more fun for the second part of that trailer, and I think it would have been a better teaser. I think you would have gotten a better reaction. Because I feel like, the general stuff I've been seeing online, at least from like movie blogs, has been that, this is kind of a mixed feeling about this teaser.
I'm going to have to look at it again because for me, it never felt serious and dark or whatever the tone for the music. It always felt like, as Michael Douglas is doing the narration, it felt like the hero's journey, and that music was swelling and building to that hero, coming out in Paul Rudd.
Right.
But I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at it again.
Yeah. We'll agree to disagree.
I was going to say, we're going to have to agree to disagree. We should move on from this topic.
But anyway, there wasn't a lot of news really to talk about this week, though there is a big rumor I wanted to bring up that's going around in the past, I think, couple days about Batman versus Superman.
Oh.
And the rumor being that this movie could end up getting split into two, and the first part could come out this year.
Dave got his wish.
Yeah, you see that smile on my face?
Just like his wish. Oh my god.
So I guess I want to say the first site that really kind of brought this up, I think it was Ain't It Cool News, and it was an image that I don't know where this image came from. Somebody grabbed it off of like a website or something. And it kind of has the font and look of the stuff we've seen so far from Batman versus Superman. And it shows it just shows the title, Batman v Superman, and it shows part 1, Enter the Night, would be coming out on October 23rd of this year. And then part 2, Dawn of Justice, would come out on what I'm pretty sure was the previous date, March 25th, 2016. it also just shows on the bottom there, it shows the website, which is Batman v Superman dawnofjustice.com. So yeah, I don't think at this point, as we're recording, no one has heard anything official whether or not this is true. So at this point, it's just a wild rumor. But if this were to be true, what do you guys think about it? Bobby, what do you think about the possibility of this actually getting split into two?
I'm not a fan, honestly. I'm really hoping that's not the case, because when did this decision come about? Like, to me, it's going to be more along the lines of them second guessing things, and that there's been no definitive plan for this Batman vs Superman film that's been moved around so many different times and second guessed on so many different levels that I don't know why they would feel the need to split it. Like, is it that overstuffed? And if it's that overstuffed, why'd they make it so overstuffed that they felt like they had to split it? And it's an unnatural split because they didn't plan it that way in the first place. It doesn't seem like. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not on board with it if it does split. If it was one film and they said they were releasing it in October, I'd be on board. I'd be happy and over the moon. But this scares me, because then it's like, well, what if the first one comes out and then it's not that good? Then do people show up for the second half of it to where, it may drop off because the first one wasn't to anyone's level of expectations for it? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not digging it.
The part of me that agrees with you is the part of me that, is that it's not like a planned thing, and it feels like what you just said. It's like they don't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
That they're like, oh well, we started making this movie and it was going to be Dawn of Justice and it's coming out on this date, and after we filmed it all, we're like, oh wow, man, we should really make more money and split it into two. And the uncertainty behind it is the part that makes me nervous. It makes it seem like they really don't have as solid as of a plan as we thought they did. Because, hey, as much as I would love to see a movie this year, I would still prefer to see a fantastic film next year in 2016 and just have to wait, Because no matter what, eventually that day will get here. And as long as it's great, then I won't give a shit then. I'll just be like, man, this was awesome. Thank God I waited all this time. I mean, with that said, there's certain things about the movie that have made me nervous. Like, you hear about all these characters that are being thrown in, and sure, some of them may just be quick cameos or something that are teasing toward the future of DC. I don't know. But, it's made me nervous that I'm like, this seems like there's a lot going on in this film, and it's only going to probably be under 3 hours, and that's still long. But, you've got still Superman, which we're developing and seeing what's going on with him. And then we're introducing, now a Ben Affleck Batman into this new DC universe, and we've got to learn about what's going on with him. And then there's Wonder Woman and what's going on there. And apparently it's not just, her without being Wonder Woman yet or something. I mean, she's Wonder Woman in this film from what I understand. And you got Lex Luthor. There's a lot going on. So the possibility of then having some more breathing room and splitting it into two parts, I think it could be very good. And I think it could be a good thing that we're not going to have to squish this into one film. But it does, kind of what you're saying, Bobby. It makes me a little nervous to hear this kind of news, but not really news. It's a rumor. Somebody snapped this shot that looks like it's off a website. Who knows if it's just somebody fucking around on the internet? It could be anything. And everyone's kind of taking it and run with it just because it's fun to talk about. But this could be nothing.
Yeah,
but the fact that we haven't, I don't think, heard anything from Zack Snyder or Warner Brothers to go, that's bullshit. Like, I don't think we've heard any response, if unless I'm wrong. Which is telling. I would think that if this is just complete nonsense,
they would have shut that bad.
They would have just immediately jumped out and been like, by the way, everybody just calm the fuck down. You're not getting a movie this year. Just wait till March of next year. So, I don't know. I think there could be something to it. What do you think about it, Michelle?
I'm like, my first gut reaction was exactly what Bobby said. And then I kind of sat on it a little bit longer, and I had kind of more what your epiphany leaned towards was that maybe they, are realizing they have a lot, but they're realizing that this really is like linking two full stories together. And so maybe it's going to give us two excellent products. And yeah, my thought was definitely like, oh, this looks kind of shady, but I'm not sure if it's legit or not. But then it's like, it's been out for a few days. And I'm like, I feel like if this was not legit, they would have shut that down fast. They would have put a stop to it almost immediately. They've been like, you guys need to take a step back. We're going to sue you. Shut your mouths. You know, like, that's not what's happening. Like, for them to not have even stepped up to say anything yet. I mean, to my knowledge, I have not heard anything about them shutting this bad boy down. I mean, think about how quick they were with Comic-Con, with everybody videotaping it. They shut that down within hours. Like, nobody's footage could get out for, like, it got on, it was on for a few hours, and then it was nowhere on the internet.
Right.
So, I mean, they jumped on that pretty fast. So if they could do that, I would think that if this wasn't true, they would have jumped on that too. And I don't know. But overall, it could be good. This could be a good sign. I'm okay with it being 2 excellent films or 1 fantastic film. Either way, that's okay with me.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I guess
want a good story.
If my general reaction still is, I guess, like what you're saying, Bobby, I'm still like, ooh, what's going on here?
Yeah,
but I can't shake it.
Yeah, but
it scares me.
I can't lie that I'm excited that I could possibly see a movie in October. And again, like, yeah, I mean, then what you're saying too, like, if this wasn't playing as 2 films, then you have to find a point in the middle that you're going to cut it. And then what are they probably going to go back and maybe do some reshoots to make that separation make more sense? Mm-hmm. You know, they get some rewriting involved. I don't know. I mean, you go back. I go back to the Hobbit films and the decision to suddenly go, no, this is going to be 3 films, not 2, and you know my opinion on those films. I mean, but I don't know, man. It's tough. I'm 50-50 on it now, I guess.
Yeah, man. It's so weird. I mean, I think in the last few podcasts that we've talked about that movie, my optimism has shown, and I've been really on board with thinking that we're going to get something really great. And then to hear this, it made me feel like, well, then they're not confident in what they have as a whole product, that they feel like they might need to split it, and that it was overstuffed. And now that makes me rethink how my optimism was in the first place, that maybe the first thing that they made wasn't as good. And if this can help to make it better, then great. But to me, it makes me think of more issues that may be at stake. And then the other things, like you said, if they do split it, and what kind of reshoots do they need to do? Or maybe are they going to take some of those cameos out that they put in the first place to just make it a little bit leaner? And yeah, it's just so many questions that come across that if they decide to split it and it wasn't planned that way in the first place.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Yep. I guess,
yeah. Sure.
I guess I really probably would be dismissing this as bullshit if it weren't for the fact that nobody's reacted to it. Like, from the Warner Brothers side of things.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess we'll see what happens.
Did you happen to catch the news about Fox moving their stuff around?
Fox. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I think that kind of popped up earlier in the week. Because, they moved the Fantastic Four sequel, right? Then they moved the next Planet of the Apes film.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. Like a year behind, right?
Oh,
they
wow.
did.
Yeah.
They moved back Apes by a year and moved forward the sequel to Fantastic Four, which I don't know what that says. I mean, to me, it's like, or does that mean that they're confident that the Fantastic Four is going to be good and it's going to do good, that they're already plotting out the sequel, or they just saving that spot, and if it doesn't seem to go the way they want, they can plug something else into it since they've already sort of planted the flag for that film? I don't know, but the one that really gets me is just as being disappointed in is the Apes moving back a year. I mean, if that means that we'll get a better product in the end result, then so be it. But to me, that makes me feel the same way when I feel and think about Batman versus Superman and how far out that is.
Yeah.
When you already sort of had a date in mind and then it gets moved a year beyond that, you're just thinking of all that time in between, and when that time comes upon the original time, you're like, I should be watching such and such right now, and I still got another year. And so that'll be the hard part to swallow, is that we won't get that in the time that it was supposed to come out. But I'm just hoping that it's going to be worth the wait.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of can't believe I almost forgot to talk about this, but yeah, because another big part of that announcement was that Gambit was dated. for
yeah.
October 7th of 2016 with Channing Tatum starring, which I think pretty much officially already knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's got a date now. And Assassin's Creed has a new date. I feel like it had dates in the past and it just kept getting pushed back. But Assassin's Creed starring Michael Fassbender is now slated for December 21st of 2016. And then shortly after that, The Greatest Showman on Earth with Hugh Jackman as P.T. Barnum will be on Christmas Day of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of all part of that big announcement.
And that was the thing that I felt was sort of strange, because you got Michael Fassbender in the Assassin's Creed, which should definitely bring out a lot of the video game aficionados. But even a person like me who hasn't really played that game, but I know the sense of it, that I will definitely be checking that out. But at the same time, you have the Hugh Jackman in the P.T. Barnum film that, I mean, everyone at least knows that name and know that he's affiliated with the circus and the Greatest Show on Earth sort of thing. So I don't know. Maybe there's no crossover in audiences there, but those being both X-Men characters, there feels like they would share some sort of audience synergy to where,
I guess.
it's like, why would they release them a week away from each other instead of within the same week?
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. I mean, part of me feels like they really don't share the audience, even though I get what, like with the actors themselves do kind of have the same fan base.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I'd see Michael Fassbender in pretty much anything he does. I mean, he's an amazing actor.
Well, okay, let me ask you, Michelle.
There's really not much. I can't fathom like him doing some movie and being like, oh, that looks like just trash. I'd be like, no, I'll still check it out. Never know.
Let me ask you then, your dollars that week, if you only had money to go see one movie that week, would it be the Hugh Jackman film or the Michael Fassbender one?
If they're on the same week?
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't know, because Hugh Jackman
as a
piece like that could be quite amazing.
But I guess.
But Michael,
are you
not
familiar at all with the
movies that week?
Are you familiar at all with the Assassin's Creed like storyline?
I mean, I know the video game and I know a little bit of the storyline, but like I've never played the game, so I don't know. Actually, I've never actually done it myself. But I mean, just because it's got Michael Fassbender, I would totally go see it. Like,
right.
That's. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know, because I like Hugh Jackman a lot too, and I know he could really, here it goes, blow the top off that one.
Oh,
that was bad. But yeah, no, that's tough.
What about you, David? Your money's got to go one place that week.
It'd go to Assassin's Creed. I mean, the P.T. Barnum story is not one that really interests me. So that's based solely on what the films are. I would go to see Assassin's Creed instead.
Interesting.
See, P.T. Barnum kind of intrigues me though. I mean, I've got family that lives in Sarasota, Florida, so I mean,
right.
That's where it all kind of Sarasota, Bradenton. That's where it all kind of took off from. But I mean, it's kind of a scandalous thing, and the circus life back in the beginning of the beginning of the 20th century was. It was pretty cutthroat. It was pretty rough out there. It was like the Wild West of life in the entertainment zone, I guess you could say. So, I mean, that could be pretty interesting. And he did some shady stuff.
Right.
He wasn't, he was there to put on a show and make his money, for sure. And that could be, it's intriguing to me.
Mm-hmm. So, my money goes, if I only have the one to see, it's going to go to P.T. Barnum. Yeah. And here's why. 3 reasons, at least, why. One, it's got Hugh Jackman, and he's just awesome. I mean, you just see his range in everything he's been in, and he continues to be impressive in everything he's in. Second reason, I've said it many times on this show, that I love like biographical movies that are about real people, and I'm interested and fascinated by that story, and I don't know enough about it, so seeing a movie about it will give me a little bit more exposure to that period in time. And third, there's a precedent being set for video game films, and it's pretty bad. So not knowing whether or not this will be the exception to the rule, I'd rather go with someone that I already trust that's going to give me a good film, which would be Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Bobby on this one.
Yeah, but I'm still going to go with Assassin's Creed. Just because I still really don't have a lot of interest in that story. I mean, yeah, maybe once a film actually gets made, there's a trailer put out, and I see the quality of film that the Hugh Jackman film will be, maybe I'd be like, oh, wow, okay, I got to see that.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, I've already thought of, and I agree with what you're saying, Bobby, about like the Assassin's Creed thing and it being a video game, and we could see a trailer for that, and I could feel like, oh, well, that looks like a direct-to-DVD release. I mean, that could totally happen. But right now, my interest, one story or the other, it's still going to go Assassin's Creed, just on the information I have. So that's what
that'll be interesting to see when those, because I mean, obviously they're coming out the same week. So who's going to win that battle that weekend? Will it be Wolverine or Magneto? Who's winning that weekend?
Yeah, I don't know. So real quick, there were some other quick things that were announced this week. A Daredevil date was announced. Daredevil is coming to Netflix on April 10th.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I don't know a lot of Daredevil, but I'm excited to see what a Marvel series on Netflix is going to be like. That's going to be something to see, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of my interest with that one, because Daredevil was not one that really caught me, that really, sunk me in. But yeah, I'm interested to see Marvel on Netflix.
But kind of a gritty in the city kind of, street hero like that. I don't know. I'm digging it. I'm almost like, man, should I take the day off just so I can just watch it all day? Just get it out there so I don't have to hear people talk about it that have already sat there and binge watched it all in one day.
Will that be your plan, though? Like to try and watch it all at once?
I'll try. I might.
Whenever you get your chance.
Yeah, I love watching shows like that.
Probably would.
I'm all for it.
I'm guessing I'm probably going to do week to week.
You're going to watch an episode a week?
Yeah.
What? Why?
Oh, I do not have that kind of patience.
You, of all people, are going to do that?
Because if it's good, I'm not going to want to burn through it and then not have anything for another year or 2 years whenever they decide to make the second season.
I just can't see you being able to hold back. I got to
slow down.
Nah.
I got to savor it. I got to savor it.
No way.
Anything else, if it wasn't comic book related, I'll just devour it and be done with it. Sure, fine. But this is my bread and butter. This is comic book stuff. So I got to make it last. I'm not going to just burn through it.
I mean, I could see myself breaking it up and only watching like 2 or 3 episodes a day. But I could also see myself like just knocking it out in a day. But I could not. I do not have the willpower to see one a week. No way.
I don't think you do either. I think you say this, Bobby, and I don't think you can pull this off.
No, you watch. Because, look, again, we're dealing with a series that's only 13 episodes. And so that's like the same as a Game of Thrones or something. And since, I know you're probably going to mention it, but Game of Thrones comes out within that same week, 2 days later. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to watch it back to back. Whenever that Sunday night comes on of Game of Thrones, I'm going to follow it up with the Daredevil. And I'm going to ride them both out until the whole end of the season. So that's how I'm going to do it.
So Dave and I are going to knock it out in the first week. We're going to come back on the podcast and be like, oh my gosh.
I'm going to be like, I know, I've watched more, I'm more caught up in the show than you are. It's going to be amazing.
That will be a first, right?
That will be a first.
Ahead of me on the show.
Yes, it will. That'll be the only reason I do it. I'll just do it for that reason alone, so I can say I'm ahead of you on something.
I'll give you that title. I won't mind if you get ahead of me on that one. I'm going to savor it.
But yeah, you just mentioned too, that Game of Thrones got dated. Season 5 starts on April 12th.
Yay!
Also Veep and Silicon Valley the same day, which, I'm still excited about Silicon Valley. You got to watch that, Michelle. It's a good show.
I still have the last season of Game of Thrones to watch.
That's right. Holy shit.
I've been savoring it. I've been waiting. So it's been just hanging out, and I get to enjoy it through the February and March. Then in April, I get to bask in the glory of
Why have you been waiting?
Just because I knew that the 5th season was coming along. Everybody else has been so tortured in their wait. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm good. I've got time.
But you just told Bobby that you couldn't hold off on watching Daredevil. But now you're telling us that, I'm just going to sit back and I'll watch Game of Thrones when I get to it.
I'm going gonna enjoy it.
You're making no sense right now.
See,
Everybody else
said
has been in misery for months about Game of Thrones, and I'm gonna be like, I'm good. I'm fresh.
You are agreeing with Bobby on Daredevil. Is essentially what you're doing
Exactly.
right now. You're saying what he just said.
Maybe it's just because to me it's like two different tones of shows, you know? I mean, I do love Game of Thrones. I mean, thanks to you, I'm totally sucked in. But like, I don't know. Like, I'm savoring every moment of Game of Thrones that I have until I'm in everybody else's misery at the end of this coming season. And then I will be suffering with everyone else in America.
You know why I can't do what you're doing, Michelle, and why I can do it with Daredevil is because, one, Game of Thrones has been around for a while, so everybody's on that train, and since they're on that train, it's water cooler talk. So
yeah, you can't keep your mouth shut about it.
Yeah, it's so easy, and especially in what we do and constantly reading news, to not get spoiled on something. So it's super hard when the show is that good to not try and watch it week to week because you don't want to get something spoiled for you that's really huge. Whereas with Daredevil, yeah, all these critics are going to knock it out real quick. And that's kind of the beauty of it because they'll just review it as a whole and within that first week and probably won't talk about it again after that because of the fact that it's not coming out week to week. So they won't be able to spoil me on anything because all I have to do is just avoid any of their reviews for a week and just be able to say, okay, they've reviewed it. It's out of the way. I can watch it in peace because they're not going to keep talking about it as in like 4 weeks from now when this episode airs and something crazy happens. No, they've already talked about it. So with Game of Thrones, you don't get that because you never know when that big moment's going to hit. And then next thing you know, it's on every news blog you read the next day, or someone mentions it to you, or they're talking about it to a coworker and you overhear them. So you don't have to worry about that with Daredevil, and with Game of Thrones you do. So I could never do how you're doing it with Game of Thrones.
See, and this is what's so funny about you saying all of this. I haven't had cable television running in my home since October of 2005. I've had no satellite dish, no cable, nothing. And I literally just picked up Game of Thrones. When was that? In the summer? Maybe this past summer, 2014?
When you first watched it?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
And I watched the first 3 seasons in about, 6 weeks? Kind of took my time, relaxed. And I've got season 4 just kind of hanging there. And I've known nothing. I've really kept... I've listened to nothing.
Nothing had been spoiled ahead of time.
Nothing. I have no idea what's happening in season 4, so I'm super excited to see this.
Because I mean that to have that happen, at least for me. I mean, not only would you not be able to like watch TV and see news or whatever, but the big one would be like social media. Like, there's no way. Like I'm not even a huge I have a Facebook account and I do use it. I get bored and I go on my phone. I got nothing else to do right now. I'll look at Facebook as much as I sit there and complain about it. But I mean, that and Twitter and keeping up with news, there's no way. Like, even the Red Wedding episode, like, I didn't know what happened, but I wasn't able to see it because I had to DVR it and I watched it the next day. But within that less than 24 hour period, I mean, I knew that, man, well, I guess something big fucking happens here. Like,
I was going to say, it's probably the only one that really kind of spoiled me. Is I knew something big was coming and it was called Red Wedding. And I knew it was going to be either at the very last episode of season 3 or the second to last kind of episode. So I did know there was something big coming, but I didn't know anything about it, which was excellent. And I think the reason why I have this luxury is because in the past couple of years, while Game of Thrones has been on television and going on, even though those things were popping up in my news feed on Facebook, I would just skim over them because I wasn't watching it.
Yeah, I get that
because
at the time you had nothing to connect it to,
right?
And it was probably easy for you to even forget that you saw that stuff.
Yeah, I would just keep on going through, and I just would pay no attention to it because I wasn't watching it. Now that I am watching it, and I do see stuff pop up in my newsfeed, so I am kind of like, oh, I think it's a season 4 thing. Keep moving, move. Don't pay attention, don't look. And I've been okay with that. So, but I'll be sharing.
Yeah,
I'm totally lucky. I get to share in everyone. Season 5. I'm there with you. I'm here. I'm coming up. I'm going to be there.
You will be with us on season 5.
I will be excited and happy and frustrated and angry, just like everybody else is going to be.
Because even I feel horrible saying this. Homeland, a show that I loved, but sadly for whatever reason, I only watched the first 2 seasons and I haven't caught up since. And I know a major thing that happens with a character that, in that show, that's a major character. And unfortunately, I mean, that's just the way it is. I know it now, even though I haven't seen it in the show. And I that was something I just couldn't avoid. And
well, I think without having a satellite dish or cable TV, I've had to adapt my lifestyle in a weird way. You know what I mean? Like I've had to, because I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. And I mean, and again, like people were like, "How do you even watch it? You don't have cable." And I'm like, "Well, we do live in the internet age, so I can figure it out." But I don't. I've taught myself to not pay attention to the blips on my news feed or anything on the radio. Like as soon as I hear it, like I'm like, "Oh, switch the station, moving along, change the subject." And it's taken a while, but I've learned like I don't want to spoil it for myself because, like even. Like currently right now, like with Downton Abbey, if I miss Downton Abbey, I have to wait till the next day to watch it on my PBS app on my Roku. And then, with Walking Dead, I watch it the next day through Amazon. And luckily enough now, I, because the president of HBO is like, if your parents have HBO, get the sign in from them, blah,
Go ahead
blah,
and
blah,
share
it around. So I have HBO Go now on my Roku. And so I'm excited because I'll be like, oh my gosh, I get to watch Game of Thrones in real time with people of America. Like I'm super excited. It's like the first time ever in years I've seen something that's happening with everybody else. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say quickly, I can't imagine if I hadn't seen a season of Game of Thrones and it was there, sitting there on my Roku that I could just watch and not just holding off. Like, it's just not possible.
I'm amazed I have this willpower for this one. It is shocking to myself.
Sorry, Bobby, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say on a side note that one of the things that was at CES were TVs that used the Roku as their OS. It's already baked into your TV as opposed to needing an outside box for it.
Do you
which
have
I thought
Roku,
was kind of cool.
Bobby? You ever used it?
No, I haven't used it. I haven't used any outside sort of source like a Chromecast or a Roku or any of the things of that nature. But that was big, and so was the Sling service that they
Sling,
that was interesting too, seeing that. So having their own cut the cord system of like 20 channels that you can just pay for as a service instead of having to use cable. It was interesting, but
I think that's the way of the future right there, honestly.
Eventually. But what we were saying though, one of the things I think is like David was saying with Homeland, that's a show I've only actually ever watched the first episode, and it's one of the shows that is sort of on my list of things to get to eventually. And yet, like he said, there is something that happened to a character that I know about without even knowing it. And it's funny because nothing ever came right out and said it. But it said it in such a way where you just kind of knew. And so I was like, well, that sucks. And so now knowing that, and like Michelle was saying, she had heard about something called the Red Wedding. And, but she didn't know when it happened or where.
What it even was.
But for me, even just knowing that much would spoil it for me in a way, because now it's something I'm going to be looking for. And I don't want to be looking for things. I want them to happen and me just let them happen to me and experience it in that sort of way. Sort of like some of the things that happened in the last season that, I won't even say anything about it, but yet there's things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I still kind of got to experience the Red Wedding full blast, but not quite. It was toned down a little bit because I still knew that it was something big, but I didn't have any idea what.
Well, I mean, luckily enough, I made it through almost the whole thing going, oh, it might not be this one. It might be the next episode. And then it was like, oh, it's about, here it goes. Okay, something's happened. Yep. Okay, yeah. And I mean, it still shocked me. It still shocked the crap out of me. I was like, what the? I mean, it's so shocking. That whole episode was just so shocking. Like, my husband watched this episode.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up, that he doesn't watch the show anymore.
He's done. He's completely washed it away. He's like, I will never watch the show again. Like, he literally stood up.
To him, it was like the one step too far of like, you ruined it for me. You killed too many people.
It really was. He was so upset. He was so viscerally upset. He literally stood up from the couch, walked out of the living room.
Pissed.
And he said, I'm never watching that effing show again.
Wow. I've never heard anyone have that response.
And I sat there on the couch like, well, that sucks for you because I'm going to keep going.
Oh wow!
I mean,
That's
I've never
like
heard. I don't think
blowing
I've
my
ever
mind.
heard that response, but it's not surprising to me that people do have that reaction.
He almost had that reaction after the end of the season 1.
Yeah, the big.
And
yeah.
I had to work to pull him back into season 2, and I had to work hard. And then I was like, oh, I've got him back in. And then Red Wedding happened, and then he stood up and he walked out. I was like, oh, I've lost
tough.
him.
I mean,
gone.
there's characters right now that if season 5 starts and like say some major character that we know is still in the show died like in the first 2 episodes, I'd be like, what do we have left? I mean, and it could totally happen. I haven't read these books, so I don't know, but yeah, I would keep watching, but I can understand that reaction. I could totally get that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just enjoy the journey too much.
I do too, and that's why I keep watching. But
me too.
I understand that heartbreak.
You're thinking of were to go, as much as I would sort of like not half-heartedly, but I don't feel like my level of investment would be as high if that character was not there. I'd still have to see how it all turned out and see where everything was going. So I could never get like another show that I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I just started. I'm still only seeing the first episode, but again, it's a show where I kind of heard about something that happened on it, which is Persons of Interest. And knowing that, it's like I know I'm going to be looking for when that particular thing happens. But even with that happening, I don't think it would make me not watch the show. To me, it'd be like, well, I can see why they went there because it's supposed to be gripping and emotional and rip your heart out kind of thing, because that's life, and especially within those time periods, you just shouldn't feel safe for anyone. And that's kind of how the way they portray it. And same thing with The Walking Dead. There's characters on there that go and you're just like, oh man, I didn't want to see them go. I wanted them to be on the show for as long as the show was on TV. And you just know it's not almost a matter of if, it's just sort of a when thing. And it's hard to take, but you just still want to see where it all goes in the end.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of how I am. Like, I have to see how the story is going to complete. Whether or not I fully agree with the way the story is going to complete, I've got to see it to the end. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of how I was raised, and that's how I've understood movies and television is that the reason these things happen, there's a reason why the writers write these things to happen. It's for the story to continue in a certain direction. And like I said, I might not agree with it, but I still need to see how it ends. I mean, that's why, and I've told Dave this before, and I think he was pretty surprised, but I've never walked out of a movie yet, mm-hmm. but I've been very close twice in my life.
Right.
But I have this gut thing where it's like, I have to see it to the bitter end, no matter how horrible it might be going for me. I have to know how it ends. That way, at least at the end of the day, I could say, I have a full grasp of what happened in the storyline
mm-hmm.
in the picture, and I can fully say I hated it, or I can be like, I understand what happened, and now I kind of like it. But yeah,
I've never done the walkout either. David's still the one.
I've done it the one time. I think.
I've been
and again, I would have done it more than that if it weren't for this podcast.
Yeah, that's the
I've
thing.
been so close, very close.
I kind of see what you're saying, but then there's films like Movie 43, which. What's the point? There's no point in staying for that.
That movie might have done it for me too if I'd watched it, honestly. But
you might have liked it. I don't know. But,
I like weird stuff, man.
Yeah.
But no.
Well, then I think that the thing is, like, with some of the things that we've talked about, I think both of you guys would like it if you watch that movie I talked about a few weeks ago, Showrunners, because it gives a little insight into some of the things that we were talking about as far as story it goes and endings of shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was interested in that one when you were talking about it.
Yeah, and it's still on iTunes, and it's only $1, so get a chance. But you forgot some of the other news, David.
Oh, what's that?
Well,
I was about to mention one more thing. But
well, there was actually still some of the other aspects of Game of Thrones that they'll be showing the last 2 episodes in IMAX.
The last 2 episodes.
So I was going to ask
IMAX.
Michelle if maybe she would go see that since she's watching this season brand new.
Except she hasn't.
This last season.
It's not like what last I heard, it's going to come to IMAX pretty soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard that's pretty soon. I was going to start Game of Thrones up for, I think, at least 1 more week, if not 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just based on my life and my schedule.
I know I'm on board with that. I mean, even though these are episodes, of course, I've seen already. Just the experience to go and watch it with a bunch of Game of Thrones fans in the theater and see. I mean, yeah, seeing it on a big screen is cool, but that's not even that big a deal to me. Just the experience of going and doing it with a bunch of fans. It'll be a lot of fun. And you get to see a season 5 teaser, which, of course, will probably be online almost immediately. But still, it'll be cool.
I mean, I'd like to, but since I haven't seen season 4, and like I said, this is part of my training I've had over the past years of keeping out.
See, if you could see season 4 and then not see those 2 episodes and go see them in the theater, that'd be pretty badass.
Yeah.
You'd be one of the very, like, if not only person in the theater that will have not seen these 2 episodes.
Like, WTF? What's happening? Where's this person at? What's going on?
Yeah.
What?
You'll be in a very unique experience.
Yeah. Michelle would be the one reacting where everyone else is just sort of, they already know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And she'd be reacting to it.
Like,
yeah. And everybody's looking at her like, why is she gasping like this if she didn't know that was going to happen?
Yeah,
why is he so shocked by this?
Because there's nobody on the planet that hasn't watched this already. No, she's right here. This is the one.
It's me. That was me.
Yeah,
right here.
I'm really looking forward to the day when we can see more TV shows that are popular, not just being episodes that have already shown, but like the season premiere or the season finales or series finales for some of the shows. Because if they did that for Walking Dead, I'd show up. I'd go see the season premiere or season finale for The Walking Dead in IMAX. I mean, that would be awesome.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I would totally be there.
Yeah, I think you probably just, it comes down to the what's
logistics.
the word? Logistics of doing that with it being on TV, and you have contracts, and of course advertisers probably wouldn't be too happy when the show now is available in theaters at the same time or something. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely logistics to it.
Yeah,
sure.
The one last thing I want to mention real quick before we get out of here is she's surrounded this film for a while. We got word this week that Scarlett Johansson signed on for Ghost in the Shell, which I'm excited about. I love that show or the anime. What was so funny, man?
No, because you said the only thing that you said was she's been swirling around this film for a while, and I thought you were going to say something else, and you said Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, okay. Well, what were you thinking? What were you thinking I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say Viola Davis for Amanda Waller. And
no.
That news that came out.
No, like Scarlett Johansson, I think was first offered this role back in October, and she finally just now decided to sign on. And I cannot wait to see a live action Ghost in the Shell film. I'm pumped. Have you guys seen Ghost in the Shell, like the anime or anything?
No.
You, Bobby?
I've seen the anime.
Okay.
But it was so long ago, I barely remember most of what happened in it. Except for, I don't know. It's like, it is sort of weird that it's Scarlett Johansson and not some Japanese actress or something. I don't know. I mean, I get why it's Scarlett because she has that box office appeal and everything. But will this be a completely Americanized version, like in the same sort of way that what was that, Avatar, the last Airbender was, or will they try and at least make it somewhat true to its origins?
I bet it'll be complete. I mean, we know it's an English language film. I bet it'll be completely just an American version. That's what I'm thinking. But I don't know.
There's that potential to mess it up then. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but yeah.
I'm still excited. I think
I'm cautiously optimistic about it, for sure.
And then one last thing. I noticed there's news that I guess American Sniper is going to IMAX. It seems like an odd pick to go in an IMAX theater. I mean, having seen the film, not the kind of movie I would think, oh, wow, that's a great IMAX flick.
Well, I mean, are there big shots of the desert and the situations that he's brought into?
Yeah, but
I can kind of see it from a visual standpoint. Though,
yeah, I would if it had been shot in IMAX, but
yes,
it's not. So I don't know. I just found that an odd pick.
Yeah.
Maybe the thing is that since it's kind of close to Oscar season, and they probably, I don't think there's any one big movie in there right now, and it's just sort of like a stop gap between that and the next film that
something
comes
to put
out.
in IMAX theaters.
I bet you that's what it is. Yeah, it's a filler.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, it is time to get out of here. As usual, for those of you listening, we'd love to know what you thought of everything we talked about today. And you can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can find us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and YouTube. You can find links to those accounts on our website over on the right-hand side. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Michelle Curry.
Thanks for listening.